It might actually be the end of photogrammetry systems, but it was a great intermediate solution.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast. 2025 is well and truly here. We are in February now with ADEC, IDS, and all these big events that are happening, Chicago, Midwinter, etc. And it is shaping up to be a huge year. Now we have a return guest and an amazing person in the digital dentistry industry, Rune from 3Shape. Hey Rune, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. IDS is 54 days away. I can't wait.
You're obviously counting down the days.
Of course, I live for ideas. I love ideas.
Well, it's looking like it's going to be a really big year, something that may rival 2019's ideas. And so that's super exciting. And look, before we get into the topic of today's podcast, which is all the trends, for those of you who don't know, Rune Fisker, he's the VP of Product Strategy, I believe, or sorry, Rune, what's your title now at 3Shape? You're basically like
SVP of Product Strategy.
You are like the Don or something. Like everyone knows you. You've taken 3Shape a really long distance. You're one of the first employees. Those of you who don't know, Rune releases these trends every single year as he looks at the industry. And we're going to talk about those trends. But before we get into those, how's everything been, Rune? The past year, how's it been for 3Shape? It's been a while since we've chatted.
No, it's been yet another strong year. I think we took a lot of market share in the market. We have moved a lot forward also on taking the customers in their hands, supporting them directly, onboarding them directly. And of course, we did some very significant launches with 3 refreshed Core and also Unite 3. So it's been an exciting year. And I would say overall, I think last year was, from a tech point of view, a really exciting year with all launches from a lot of the major intraoral scanner companies, 3D printer companies were really pushing the boundary. And of course, you cannot talk about tech without discussing AI. So I think actually the year last year, great year for 3Shape, but also we really saw really fast technology movement, maybe faster than ever before.
How's the reception been to Trios Core?
I'd say Trios has been a blast. People love the updated product. Also, the Invisalign connection there, of course, is important. Trios Core has also been successful and building up. It's a little bit market dependent, whether people, like or can afford a Trios 5 or more want to go for, the Trios Core, or want the Invisalign connection and some of the apps and benefits you get with Trios 3.
So it's obviously been an interesting year for 3Shape. You guys releasing those two products, and it sounds like it's going to be a big year this year. We'll all have to keep our eyes peeled. Now, let's get into these trends that you talk about, because I think it really it sets the scene for the year. We're starting 2025. Everyone's excited. Digital dentistry is booming more than ever, and I have your trends here and I want to go over them one by one and pick your brain a wee bit. So the first trend that you mentioned is generative AI becomes mainstream reality. And you mentioned here some quite interesting stats where 18% of USA dental professionals are already integrating AI into their workflows, which is kind of crazy. I didn't expect it that high already, with another 66% considering adoption. And that's for analyzing x-rays, patient diagnostics, support workflows, etc. So can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so first of all, when you look at technology trends across the board, not just in dentistry, AI and generative AI is the undisputed trend. I think you can even talk about a hype, right? And I hope you all played with ChatGPT. I know you have. And it can do amazing things that we didn't know was possible, right? Now we see all these agents also coming that can help you in your individual life as a person. When we look into the clinics, then of course we do see the first tools coming in. I think what is most far ahead and where you see the most pronounced benefit is on the X-rays, where there's more than 20 startups running AI on X-rays. You've also been reviewing some of them yourself, right? But we are really seeing this across the board. Also, a lot of products, as 3Shape, have AI inside it also. On the scanning side, generally imaging is very good for AI. because you have an image or scan and you can then analyze it. We do see also practice intelligence really starting to use AI to drill down on the data crunching, which is also a common general phenomena. And then I believe there's going to be huge opportunities around, especially the whole interface, the support or the agent taking the phone in the future will for sure be clearly done by an agent. Something which is really interesting for all dentists is are you going to do voice recording or analysis straight into your practice management system, right? So you don't have to document anymore. It can either listen in during your session with the patient, or you can tell it when you want to update the chart on tooth 21. Add a condition for tooth 21. So I think there are so many opportunities, and then of course on the whole diagnostic, on the planning, and to some extent also on the execution of the treatment, we will see AI being supportive. I still like what Pearl X-ray company is calling their product, which is second opinion, which I think it will be, right? So it will be a second opinion. It will always be the dentist that need to take the ultimate choice. But of course, we will see that unfold, with stronger support. Then specific on intraoral scans, of course, there are really opportunities to use AI there and really take that, analyze that, and bring that to a new level and transform patient communication in this area. And I really think that the AI in the diagnostic field, whether it's X-rays or intraoral scan, will truly set a new level for how you can practice dentistry and overall patient care.
It's a really interesting one with the intraoral scans. It's something that's not really been tapped into yet properly. I mean, there's a lot of these AI reporting apps that we're seeing, especially from Chinese intraoral scanners, where they'll run some AI and they can find some things, but I think it's ripe for the taking, really, where you take a scan and AI should be telling you what's there and be right there front and center.
I totally agree. If you look at what the Chinese are doing, they're just taking a standard large language model, let that look at pictures of the scan and give you very generic insights. Whereas I think what the opportunity is really to take a scan, run AI on it for diagnostic purposes, and then show that directly instantly to the patient, so you can have a complete different level of engaged conversations with the patient under oral conditions, right?
What about is there any products out there that, like, obviously Pearl is doing amazing things? Is there any other products that pique your interest in terms of AI?
I will say there's the whole X-ray AI where Pearl is the leader. I also think that there are a number of companies doing the voice recognition actually in the treatment session, right? And I think there are some interesting perspectives. Obviously, I'm sure you don't want your journal polluted with all kind of conversations you have had with the patient. When that is said, I'm sure we can take away a lot of the documentation requirements on the back. And then, of course, if you look further out in the future, of course, if you are on augmented reality or robots, they will effectively be powered by AI inside. So they will be the enablers inside this. And then just the whole development of these large language model, which is you could say the engine of ChatGPT, is just happening so fast. I just heard one of our board members yesterday had a presentation she's from Google, sitting in the core of some of this AI development, and the speed for these agents, which can be a secretary or assistants or a software developer agent that can help you, right? They are just having tremendous speed on the development there, and they are surprised what they can do, if not daily, then weekly, right? So the speed is tremendously fast, and we haven't seen and understood the impact yet, right?
All of the talk seems to be around AI diagnostics, and I want to touch on this just briefly before we move on. So you really see, from your data that you pulled, you said 18% of USA dental professionals are already integrating it. Do you see this going mass market within 5 years? Everyone's going to be using this sort of thing?
the AI, the broad category in AI, not just in diagnostic. I think we're all gonna do it. Lots of us have it in the phone already. We just don't know, right? So a lot of it will actually be hidden underneath the surface. Also on Trias does AI while you scan. You don't feel that. It's just become dramatically easier. You will get much better proposals. Of course, also in other AI, generative AI applications, 3Shape Automate designing crowns, etc. So stay tuned for also an announcement on Chicago Lab Day a few weeks on the whole AI for lab side, right? So and how we design. So this will impact whether people are gonna use all the most fancy tools. That's what is called Gartner's hype curve. But there's a lot of hype, then it falls down, and then it actually builds up again with usage, which I actually believe is very true. So yeah.
It's funny you talk about 3Shape Automate, because a lot of the AI discussion is all about X-rays and that sort of thing, but there's also a whole discussion to be had about AI CAD and how that's going to drive chairside dentistry.
For sure. What dentists don't like to do for chairside is design, right? That is one of the main barriers. And of course, with AI, I would say the revolution going on there with AI in terms of design. That opens a lot of doors for the more progressive dentists that want actually to move some of these in-house.
I guess you're right. In terms of 2025, it seems going to be like the year of AI. The next topic you bring up is digital consumer experience takes center stage. And can you elaborate on this? You mentioned in 3Shape's own research, you found 78% of people questioned would value their own personalized dental care guidance. In fact, 90% of those polled stated that seeing their scan would be highly valuable. So you say 2025, we will see more technology-empowered patients. And so what do you mean by that?
I think, first of all, we are all digital consumers, right? You are a digital consumer, I'm a digital consumer. Even our parents are digital consumers in terms of they use the phone every day with apps that give them a consumer experience, right? Also, when you shop on the internet or you watch movies on Netflix, you are used to this great digital consumer experience, right? And I think we as dental professionals need to deliver as a digital experience for the dentist. And with so much, not for the dentist, for the consumer, for the patient, right? So, and with so much being digital, I just think we have the power to take some of these digital tools and really use them to show to the patient, right? So it could be the scan as an example, but again, if you do AI analysis, for instance, on top of your scan or your X-ray, it can drive so much better communication and analysis from a patient point of view. Seeing your scan is a very common use case of a Trias scanner, but you can add more to that. And the same with the X-ray. We see that what people really like about the X-ray AI is that it's a more objective layer on top of an X-ray. And it's the same with intraoral scans. Also, I think another thing that is also super exciting when it comes to communication is actually the planning. So one thing is, how do you look today? This is your teeth. And here, obviously, an intraoral scan is significantly more recognizable for a patient than an X-ray. It's hard to see what an X-ray is, but it's also what can I do about it, right? And we do see treatment simulation really going to the next steps, so we can visualize for the patient. So while you're in the chair, you might take a scan or a photo, and you can with a single button simulate your treatment, so you can see it in your own face. And I think there are really moving opportunities to move that forward, again, to understand and educate, and ultimately, of course, also convince the patient to take a treatment. And then, of course, there's the problem that eventually the patient will leave the clinic, right? How do we engage the patient beyond the clinic? I think we have something really exciting coming there as well. How to actually engage the patient beyond the treatment. And of course, one of the great things that AI and data can do is that you can make it customized to you, right? We are tired of seeing these generic commercials for a million people or advices for a million people. We want what is specifically for you. So you have condition X. What should you actually do with that condition as a patient? So I think there are huge opportunities based on all the digitalization, using AI, and then bring that in an exciting way or engaging way. I think how many of you patients think it's exciting to go to the dentist? It's not everybody, right? I think we can actually make it, if not exciting, then for sure engaging to go to the dentist and also be on the clinic, so you don't forget that and are in competition with a million other things when you leave the clinic.
Speaking of going to the dentist, I saw on your Facebook that you recently had your wisdom tooth pulled out. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing surprisingly good. I didn't have a problem at all. So no, it has actually been a little bit an intense the dentist period for me the last months. But I will not give you all details. Yeah, but it's been no problem with the wisdom tooth last week.
Man, your dentist must have great hands or something. I would be so nervous treating you, seriously. Worse than treating family members, I think.
You do a great
Now,
job.
speaking of the AI and this kind of, digital consumer experience, a few companies have tried this. Invisalign has their own app. Dental monitoring has obviously a very full-fledged app. A lot of different scanner companies have some form of app that you can share with the patients. What's the barriers, do you think? Because some of these apps exist, and obviously some are better than others, but I don't really see them being that mainstream. Heck, I don't even see taking DSLR photos and sending it to the patient being mainstream. So, how do you expect dentists to be open to doing this extra work, let's say, or how are you going to break down the barriers to make this seamless? Because the last thing dentists want to do is have to do extra stuff to let the patient, be able to look at it at home.
No, I mean, you of course hitting a core point. It needs to be super easy, zero effort, right? I mean, it has to be like sharing on social media or something, right? You press a button and it basically go off to the patient in an engaging way, and also it needs to be relevant and it cannot take time. So else you can sit and design something treatment proposal for several minutes or several take a long time. That's not possible. You need to share it, and then it needs to be relevant so the patients actually want to open it, right? So it needs to be relatable and engaging. I think there are definitely opportunities for that. We are excited about that. I also have some personal experiences on some of the technology we have, which I can tell you is very engaging, even beyond me. So I think there are great opportunities to engage, but you are right. It needs to be fast in the clinic. It needs to be a single click to share, and then it needs to be most importantly relevant for the patient to look at. Right? If that is not meeting, then that is not going to fly. And then it needs to be mainstream. It cannot just be for all and X cases or full dentures or some of these high-end expensive. You need to move it into the mainstream market, like the checkup or similar, to really have an impact, right?
Sounds like we need to keep an eye on you guys and ideas.
You should always keep an eye on us ideas.
All right, so number 3, intraoral scanners from optional to essential. Now, this has been a topic that's been going on for a while. But you interestingly say that a Inside Dentistry year-end review found the USA iOS penetration at 57%. I have a few questions. Now, we all know they're essential. Everyone who's probably listening to this knows scanners are essential. That 57% mark, does it surprise you? Is it higher than you expect, lower than you expect, or where you expect?
I mean, it's actually spot on. I mean, we monitor, of course, the penetrations globally. I mean, it's hard to get super exact numbers, but this is very accurate, I would say. The most penetrated markets, including US, including Nordics, including Australia, and so on this 60-ish percent, right? Yeah. So this is, and it just shows, and it keep growing. I can tell you last year, 3 years cases grew 39% year over year in number of
Crazy.
patients being scanned. We scanned 26.5 million patient last year, which is end of the year a patient scanned more frequently than a second. So every second, a 3 years patient is scanned, patient is scanned for 3 years
Crazy.
worldwide. And still, despite a big install base growing 39% year over year, right? it is amazing
And a
speed.
big congratulations to you, Rune. You've been there from the start, man. It must be quite an incredible journey that you know, when you look back to where you guys started to now, it must be quite incredible to think about that.
A lot of people actually ask me that. Yes, of course, I'm proud, but I look much more on the next big thing. I'm looking forward, not backward. Yeah.
Good on you, man. Good on you. Well, look, one thing I find about all these interview reviews, it's always about the US. And okay, so the top end markets are 60%. But a lot of the emerging markets around the world are nowhere near that figure. Are they lagging, or do you see them? You know, what's the solution there? Because we've got a lot of cheap intraoral scanners now. But you were going to say something about the global.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So global penetration is not much higher than 30%, even in
It's not
many
high.
of the no many of the large also European countries. We are on maybe 35, 40%, right? And then of course you are in the whole emerging markets where we see low penetration for financial reasons, but also of course for developing more on the digital side, right? But I think they are picking up. Of course, the demands are and the price expectations are different there, and there's no doubt that we do see, and let's speak openly about that, do see inexpensive scanners coming out from Asia, particularly China. But we want and will be competitive. And that's one of the reasons why we have taken market share last year is actually in the emerging markets, where we have with 3 years core and also the refresh have had a stronger value proposition at a fair price point. So there's still, I mean, globally there's still so much runway. And I believe ultimately there will be a scanner in every chair, and we will scan every patient every time, at least very regularly, right? So it's not just about, you know, everybody getting on. It's also how many is your own clinic. It's a big clinic. I mean, how many intraoral scanners do you actually need in a clinic in the future? So that's also a good discussion, right? So yeah, so there's still a lot of opportunities in this market. I mean, a lot of people not even taking all the impressions, digital impressions, taking all impressions digitally, right? So there's so many opportunities still to expand the usage and the market.
30% is not high. Do you think these Chinese scanners are going to have an effect like DeepSeek? Or
I love DeepSeek.
what's the story with these
I,
Chinese scanners? Like they're going cheaper and cheaper. We're as low as 4,000 USD for a scanner. And look, not all scanners are the same. I've come to realize that after doing some pretty crazy literature on them, which I hope to publish this year about accuracy, because there's a big wide range of accuracy from about 20 microns to 150 microns.
yeah,
But are these Chinese scanners having a big impact on 3Shape?
not really on 3Shape, I will say, because we are a premium product. But of course, some of the other low cost products, like Made It, I think are quite heavily impacted for the cheaper alternatives. And of course, I think we all see China coming fast. And I mean, hands down, they are not just copying anymore; they're also doing good innovations, right? I mean, look at electric cars. I mean, more than 50% of all cars last year in Denmark, where I live, is now electric, right? Fully electric. And I see a lot of Chinese cars driving around on the street in front of my house, right? They do good innovation, but I think the only answer into that is to do better innovation, have stronger value propositions, have stronger ecosystems, have better service and onboarding and support, right? So, and of course, I mean, 3Shape's DNA is to lead innovation. But of course, it's a competition and it drives the world forward. And I think it's for sure good for dentists and patients that there's a healthy competition out there, right?
It's funny, even then, 30% is not a lot, man. Me and you have been talking together for at least, what is it, 6 years now, maybe longer. And after all this time, only 30% global penetration. Do you feel like it's going to skyrocket in the coming years, or is it just going to be a slow growth, maybe another 5, 10 years until we see majority?
I mean, this is classic S curve, right? Where it goes slow, then it goes fast for a period, and then it goes slow again, right? Probably the right global number is more 35, but that doesn't change the fact that it's rising a few percentages a year, right? It's not like it's not exploding, you can say, right? But I think
This
it
is
is,
right.
and I'm sure you will confirm that. I mean, you can run a modern clinic today without an intraoral scanner, right?
No
So
way.
it's becoming a must-have tool, basically.
Yeah, totally. And I totally agree with how you say it's an essential. You hit the nail on the head. I can't imagine practicing without a scanner anymore. There's just no way, especially with all the digital tools that we rely on so much day to day. Now, let's move on to the fourth point, which is interesting and it really sets the scene for 2025, the rise of 3D printing over milling. And so you say 15% of US dental practices now use a 3D printer, according to Inside Dentistry's research, the same people that did the iOS stats. Now, in the USA, more practices have printers than mills already, which is kind of mind blowing. What's your thoughts about that? I mean, we talked about that happening, I think, last year or the year before on the podcast, where printing is coming. Obviously, it's price driven. Mills cost a lot, printers don't. Is there any other reasons that you're seeing this huge drive in printing?
I think it is, of course, a new exciting technology with some quite interesting use cases, and of course, then it's just a complete different price point, right? I mean, if you want a quality printer, SprintRay or Formlabs, of course, it still cost money, but it is a different price point. But of course, I mean, people are still printing models as the most common one, doing retainers, whitening trays, other things. Of course, in some markets, splints are very popular, so people print splints. We do also see temp crowns really being used. So of course we don't have a usage number. So one thing is buying it, another thing is using it. It wouldn't be the
True.
first, probably also not the last time where a dentist buys something that you're not really using. Even for myself privately, right? When that is said, I mean, we do see quite a lot of design being done. I mean, last year we saw 500,000 models being designed on Trias cases. If you remember well, we have this Model Builder Express AI-driven model building where you just click on the scan and it generates a model, right, without any human interaction. We of course also do see guides, more than 1 million guides being made last year with Implant Studio. And also again here, I think your team also tested it with AI guides. Still, solid growth on those numbers. So you can say for a range of clinics, this makes a lot of sense. Will printing hit every clinic in the world? I'm not sure. But of course, it depends extremely much on the material development. And you can say, especially on dentures, full dentures, we really start to see people printing both the base and the teeth and using that for permanent, at least in the economy segment here. So it is, printing is really coming. I don't think you would print dentures in the clinic, but the whole idea is that when the right material is coming, right? I mean, we are concept. I don't really believe in permanent crowns, as we also discussed yet. On the other hand, we are only one innovation away, right?
True. Are you surprised? I mean, I feel like you hit the nail on the head as well. I feel like the growth of printing has almost been a result of the growth of scanners, because when you have a scanner and you're not taking impressions anymore, you need models. Dentists
Yeah.
need models for a range of things. And so then you need a printer just to print models. And that explains why models are the most commonly printed thing in my head. Are you surprised that it's already overtaken milling after 2 decades of milling companies and in-house CAD CAM companies pushing this?
I was actually surprised. That was also why it's the first line. Because I mean, I knew a lot of dentists were buying printers. I mean, we all felt that, right? All the early adapters of intraoral scanners, a lot of them now moved on to add a printer to that scanner, right? Adding the value. But I was actually surprised to see that we actually now surpassing. I've been saying for a year or two that dentists are buying more printers than mills, but now we actually surpassed the number of mills that have taken 30, 40 years to get installed, right? So I would say not more than 5 years. I mean, we have surpassed the number of mills with 3D printers, which is a little bit surprisingly to me, in full transparency, but that's what's exciting when you can get surprised, right? And you see hard data on it, so it's not just a feeling.
Do you think that's just going to be the case? Milling in house is going to stay around that 10% mark, 10, 15%? Is
Yes,
it just a result of the cost and the complexity to run the mills, or what is it? Why are dentists? I love in-house CAD CAM. It's the best thing that's ever happened to my practice. But why? Why don't people do it more?
I think that it's a great question. I think there's a couple of reasons. First of all, you have an in-house lab. It's not yourself sitting and designing and milling, which I actually think is a big difference, because having dentists or the assistants to sit and design and not at least stain and glaze and finish it off, I don't think that has been a business case for that.
In my defense, my in-house lab doesn't do my same-day crowns. I do that on
But
CEREC and my DA stains and glazes, to be honest. But
still, one-stop treatment is clearly superior from a
yeah,
patient point of view. But from a, you can say, hardcore business case, in the old days, CEREC used to say, do 7 crowns a month and you break even, and anything from there is an ATM, right? I don't think that's the case. And then you are in the clinic almost every day, right? And running a clinic is many things, and you might not want to take your focus on actually doing the crowns when labs are doing such a great job, especially also with digital impressions and the whole CAD CAM digitalization. So I think it's a parallel track here. It's so easy. Take a scan, send it to the lab. The lab comes back, and a week later you drop it in, right?
from my dentist point of view, I feel like, again, it just comes back to the CAD situation. I feel like, I mean, look at what's happening with printing, what SprintRay is doing, and trying to make, same day dentistry easy again. But I feel like there's this kind of misinterpretation of how hard the process is, because I
Sure.
totally agree where there's a business model to be had where labs you can, pay $99 and get a crown. But you will also miss a whole bunch of different cases. I mean, when I do emergency treatment over holidays,
No,
weekends, whatever, here and there, and a patient comes in, you won't believe the number of times people come in with a broken tooth and they're new to the practice, totally new. And they sit down and I simply tell them, look, the best treatment is a crown. And they tell me, how long will it take? And I tell them I can get it done in about an hour and a half. And
no,
first time we meet and they part way with thousands of dollars. And I feel like, there's something to be said. It's like that common saying, the only thing better than free is fast. And
sure.
there's something to be said about being able to deliver that quickly. And this is why I'm excited about 3D printing, because I think with AI and the amazing work you're doing with 3Shape Automate and with the printers being so simple, I really do believe CAD CAM in house may grow. Now, I don't think it'll ever grow like crazy. It's not going to be mainstream. We'll always have the labs because, again, there's these barriers that dentists have CAD, and I don't want to be a technician. But I truly believe people make it harder than it seems to be, especially for a signal crown. I mean, hand on heart, and you can go on my Instagram. You've seen my work. My DA does pretty good job staining and glazing. You
No, well
can
done.
train someone to do basic jobs quite well. And I don't know. To me, it's just, I'm surprised people don't jump on this because it's such a gold mine.
No, but I mean, coming from where I come, I of course agree with you fundamentally. I still think a 100,000 plus ticket for a CEREC system, which is state of the art for chairside today, is a big barrier, right? But of course, that's going to change with 3D printing, and that you can say that's the exciting things, that with the material getting better, getting sufficiently good, which it which it will eventually get for an economy crown. Then it's getting interesting, and of course, the value proposition for immediately treating patients. Or we have a good customer in northern Sweden where people often drive 200 kilometers to get in from the countryside and 200 back, right? Then it's quite nice. You don't have to come back next week. All right, great news. Okay, good to hear. I actually didn't know that. Then, but great if you can educate your DA to do that. Then then of course it's a great opportunity. I still think that so that's the one part of it. The other part of it is that the dental labs have become so efficient with digitalization, full zirconia crown, digital impressions coming in. So crown prices have been dropping, right? So in the US, you can easily get a crown for less, a full zirconia crown for less than $99, right? So the business case has kind of disappeared, not the patient value proposition, because the still one-stop treatment is clearly superior from a patient point of view. But from a, you can say, hardcore business case, in the old days, Zurich used to say, do 7 crowns a month and you break even, and anything from there is an ATM, right? I don't think that's the case. And then you are in the clinic almost every day, right? And running a clinic is many things, and you might not want to take your focus on actually doing the crowns when labs are doing such a great job, especially also with digital impressions and the whole CAD CAM digitalization. So I think it's a parallel track here. It's, immediately treating patients, or we have a good customer in northern Sweden where people often drive 200 kilometers to get in from the countryside and 200 back, right? Then it's quite nice. You don't have to come back next week. On the other hand, who are the most rational players in the industry? That's the DSOs. And there's no DSOs that have implemented chairside dentistry in the last 5-10 years, simply because they can calculate and they know they make more money on the dentist treating more patients than him becoming a lab, right? Of course, if you have a good assistant, then there's opportunities, but it requires that you have a good staff that can help you with it, right?
I totally agree. I totally agree. If you don't have the support network, it's a total cluster. It won't work, and you'll lose a lot of money. But if you have that team and everything runs smoothly and you're churning them out, I mean, nowadays I can literally, I mean, today actually, I just came from clinic. I did some printed crowns actually for SprintRay, and I kid you not, it was a quadrant, 1 inlay, 2 crowns, and I prepped them up in 45 minutes, scanned it in 30 seconds or whatever it takes. The CAD was done in about 10 minutes. The printing took 10 minutes. The curing 10 minutes, and within 2 hours, everything was put in. 2 hours. And
that's amazing.
The thing I think what people don't realize is that 2 hours, you're not sitting around doing nothing and they're like, oh, I could see more patients, because I was seeing more patients, while it's printing, while it's doing that, I'm seeing emergencies, simple things. But anyway, I think what's really interesting, to go back to the printing, I think we're beating a dead horse. In the picture of that awesome dentist who got to treat you and pull out your wisdom tooth, in the corner, my beady eyes saw a Midas in the corner. And I'm sure you guys have talked about it. What do you think about Midas?
No, I think Midas is really an interesting movement. Now, I've been in 3D printing since 2001, starting out with hearing aids. So we have been following, creating STL files for printers for almost more than 20 years, right? And I think this is really one of the most exciting innovations that I've seen. It is not just going from laser to DLP to LCD. This is really exciting, and the footprint is impressive. You can say where there's still room to be done is the material good enough? Is it multi-layer? And how much post-processing do you need to do to really make it mainstream, right? But it is, the SprintRay Midas is an extremely exciting product. I also love the espresso approach, you can say. You just put a cartridge up there, you press, you don't carry around this open trays that smells because of the material. So I think there are some really powerful innovations there on this. Still, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to material. If the material is good enough, and also workflow overall, it needs to be super easy, right? Your assistant still need to wash and cure it and stain and glaze it. But he just got it. One thing is vegan marketing material. I love much more, the real stuff. Our CEO, Jakob, actually gets a Midas temporary crown on Monday. So I'm actually going to join him for that, to see how that, at the same dentist. So I'm looking forward to see how that unfolds.
I want to see your post about that. Look, I have to say, SprintRay to me is really like the Ceric of 3D printing. They've really mastered the workflow. They've got the software, they've got the wash, they've got the cure. Everything is slick, everything works. this year to me will be the year if SprintRay can fulfill all their promises, because they came out with the
Correct.
Midas this time last year. They came out with the Midas, and for a whole year we really haven't seen the resins. They talk about them, but we haven't quite seen them. We've really only seen some of their previous resins, like the Onyx Tough and Ceramic Crown in the
Yeah.
little cartridges. But I'm really curious what they can pull off, because then we might have a game changer on our hands.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting to look at what you could say, the classical material companies, the Ivoclar, the Dentsply, are doing here. I mean, the best printing denture material today is, in my opinion, Luciton. That is
100%.
at least what people are using. Everyone that are really printing are using Luciton globally, right? Also, Ivoclar are also have come out with a denture material now, and I'm sure several of them. I really hope for them. Several of them are working on crown materials also, and I'll be surprised if they are not. So it's also what are the established players, material players, and leaders actually bringing into the market, and who will be the winner. But it's clear this is the one innovation we are missing, right? A really breakthrough material, and maybe a little bit easier post processing. Then it can have true impact. So it's exciting times, and it could likely. I mean, iOS is the current S curve. Printers could be the next S curve, right?
100%.
Still to be seen.
I totally agree with you. Now, the last point, just in the being mindful of time here. So, cloud integration, connecting the dots. And you mentioned, we're going to see more workflows being integrated within the cloud. And this is actually something that your competitor slash your frenemy slash, I don't know what to call the relationship between 3Shape and Dentsply anymore. But, they're really pushing that. They make DS Core. They're leveraging hard into DS Core. A lot of people seem to have mixed opinions about the Prime Scan 2, but they are going all in about cloud and cloud integration and workflows. And please elaborate on this point. And also, I would love to hear, obviously 3Shape, you have recently ventured into the cloud with Unite, which, by the way, works really well. One thing, actually, while you're here, the loading screen right at the start, when you start 3Shape Unite, when it's on the cloud, is way longer than what it was locally. And that's a little bit annoying. But anyway,
I will pass it on to the team.
it just came to me. I should have messaged you off podcast. What's the idea here? Like, obviously, we talk about these separate islands. Is this ever going to be solved? Do you think cloud is really the way it's going to be solved?
Yes, I actually think there are two topics in one topic here. So we talk about all these fantastic tools, all these digital tools, all these, not at least AI tools and so on, that is honestly overflowing clinics these days, right? There are so many tools, but where's the workflow, right? How do you, I mean,
Yeah.
lots of people are sitting exporting scans, importing them into another platform, re-entering patient names, I don't know how many times, not getting information back in the practice management system, which is the core of any clinic, right? So we have all these great tools, but they're not talking together, which means that you need to be sometimes a small tech magicians to get things to work, right? I know you can get it to work, and some of the early adapters can get it to work, but for the mass market, this needs to come to a complete different level. And also, if especially intraoral scanners need to be a really, a real image modality that you look at next to your X-ray. Then you need to be able to click with one single click in the PMS to see it, right? So all these things need to be integrated. Then, so to speak, it all comes down to, we all know that this is a fantastic product, the phone, the iPhone, right? But what makes that an excellent, outstanding product is the ease of use, how things are connecting and integrating. So I think there are huge opportunities in connecting connecting the dots of building a strong ecosystem. So, for instance, 42% of all Trias users is actually sending a case directly into a platform of Invisalign or ClearCorrect or Glidewell or Modern or some of. So it's actually widely used and being a great workflow, right? That happens then much easier when it's in cloud. And you can say, if we move to the tech part of it, I mean, today a lot of code is still running on your laptop, right? But ultimately everything will move to the cloud. So when we look at this program we're recording with, everything is actually going on in the cloud, right? That is, from a tech point of view, the way it goes. When you are on the cloud side, and you can say that's also a little bit, in my opinion, Dentsply Sirona's, my dear colleague's problem with DS Core, which from a tech point of view is super cool, but it requires bandwidth. And what are the advantages, right? So we discussed that a lot. I mean, we had a whole offsite yesterday where it was discussed a lot in the product creation R&D team at 3Shape, right? So tech-wise, clearly, but what are the customer benefit? So the real customer benefit in cloud is to get the scan and all your cases to the cloud, so you can access them from anywhere, right? So they are backed up, so you can, if you want to write a comment to your lab on the way home or do a fast reply on something, you can do that on your phone anywhere, anytime. So access data anywhere, anytime. But whether the actual processing or calculation happens on your laptop or in the cloud, the benefits are much more slim. I mean, you will always scan the patient in the clinic, in the chair. You don't care if it's processed in the cloud or processed locally. And you can say Dentsply Sirona, in my opinion, made one major mistake, which we were also discussing a lot, that is bandwidth is varying. I mean, Denmark actually have the highest internet bandwidth in Europe. I'm on a 100 megabit in and out connection, but my Wi-Fi, as we have some little bit problems with my Wi-Fi, is not extending. And I mean, I'm a tech guy, right? I can measure all this. I can try to optimize it. Even my Wi-Fi on this, I actually officially have 500 megs down and 100 up. It normally gives 100 down, 100 up. So the point is basically that if you look, and we can see that when uploading to communicate, that the Wi-Fi connections around the clinics are on very different qualities, very country dependent, very clinic dependent. Many of them don't have professional IT support, etc. So there's just this, and on scanning, you need instant feedback, right? So if there's just the smallest blob in your internet connection, then you will get a bad experience. And I have to say, this is what Sirona did. I think it was a bold tech move. You can use slimmer computers, but it just hit the reality of internet in the average clinic consistently. I mean, great tech stack, but what is reality out in the field, right? Not sitting on a line, 100 megabyte up and down line, right?
I was just going to say, what do you think some of the issues with going to the cloud? Because we see that you're 100% right. Every company now is going to the cloud. You guys went to the cloud, Medit's on the cloud, Dentsply's on the cloud. Every company has a cloud service now, especially iOS companies. One thing I see as an end user is everyone wants to charge cloud fees eventually. And so subscription fees are back in some way or form. But I guess from your point of view, what are some of the downsides? Obviously, bandwidth is one. But are you seeing some sort of issue with everything going to the cloud, or is this just the natural progression of technology?
I mean, this is eventually everything will be in cloud. I mean, you can say from a manufacturing point of view, the problem is that it actually costs money to run from the cloud. So you are paying for storage, you are paying for calculation. So it's actually much cheaper for me, so to speak, that you just run it on your local laptop. And that is why subscription fees are coming back, because there is a cost, and especially if you access it a lot. I mean, so you need to be smart around that, because there's this running cost on it to run cloud. When that is said, beside the internet connection, which of course over time will get better and better globally, then there are limited problems. I mean, there's a lot of people talking security. Is it safe? Honestly, it's much safer to have it in the cloud, because the security around that is much stronger than on the average PC in the average clinic. So bringing things to the cloud actually significantly increase security in average, and not just in average, but generally speaking. And then I think, from a user point of view, I mean, we are so much on our phones these days, right? We want to see the scans there, interact there, and we want to do it everywhere. Also in the clinic, it's not like everyone have to sit every night and answer messages on the phone, right? So I just think there are clear benefits on it, on the cloud part. And then from integration point of view, it becomes so much easier in the cloud, because you just have 2 points in the cloud. Also, another big benefit is software updates. I mean, you update your cloud and everyone is updated. So there are some, solid benefits in it for the customer. It's easier to roll out. When that is said, there's also challenges, right? And what is the true customer benefit beyond having a scan stored in the cloud?
Super cool, man. And that's some amazing insights from Rune from 3Shape. This guy is one of the godfathers of digital dentistry, I would say. He's made such a huge impact. So it's just amazing to speak to him and pick his brains. Rune, I got one better for you. You talk all about the positives and what's coming and the big trends. Here's something a little more interesting. And you didn't write this in your post. What are your thoughts about some trends, either from last year or the previous years, that didn't do so well and may die in 2025? What are some things that you think, they made a lot of noise, a lot of hype, but it's not really going that well for them? Or this year will be game over for them?
I don't think they're gonna die, but I think they're gonna remain niche. So for instance, if you look at face scanning, right? I love it. 3Shape had the first scanner at IGS in 2009, face scanner in industry in 2009, but they are not really achieving market penetration. I mean, you same a little bit jaw motion, these advanced jaw motion systems, the modules of the world, right? I love them and building the full digital patient, but they are not getting mass adoption. How much? I mean, I'm a preacher for the avatar and the full digital patient, and I think some of it is coming together on the core image modalities. But these exciting, I think we have also been excited a little bit together on, for instance, face scanning, right? But it doesn't seem really to reach mass adoption, and you have a classical innovation framework which is called crossing the chasm, where you really need to get into mass market. And what is, you can say, interesting, or some would call it depressing, is you see some of these super interesting technologies don't really get to mass market. They're felt, so you get to early adapters and then you drop down in the hole and don't get beyond from there. And I think we do see a number of technologies there that we find exciting, that speakers and KOLs find exciting, but are they really getting into mass market, the everyday dentist in Auckland using it? I think so. So that is where I see also, I've been multiple years talking about the digital patient or the avatar, but it's just going surprisingly slow to get that together. I think it will come together though on the core image modalities, really getting that together on iOS, X-rays, photos, maybe more information used for more holistic diagnostic. But beyond that, I have to say I'm a little bit. I have to say a little bit disappointed that these things didn't get more mass adoption than I thought. But that's, of course, it's hard to predict sometimes, right?
Well, I have one for you. I have one that I think won't go so well this year, and I think that is the photogrammetry companies.
That's a great call out. There's no doubt that all an X cases has been challenging with iOS, which have meant that a photogrammetry company have had good times, and fair enough. I mean, they solved a problem that no one else could solve in a digital way, right? But you are completely right.
They solved it very brutally because, man, is expensive. The software is atrocious. Most photogrammetry software is terribly bad. Like if it was in an intraoral scanner, it would not be acceptable.
No,
And they're bulky. Like we
no.
have a clinic, a 45-minute drive, 45-minute flight away. Another clinic, satellite clinic that's just implants and all on X. And I am now using the Elite system, and I am now using True Abutment and these sort of things. And I just imagine having to take a whole photogrammetry box back and forth. Disaster.
No,
So it's very interesting.
no, there's no doubt it's great call out. There's no doubt that this is now solved in a much better way, right? Whether you're using Elite or you use Trias and True Abutment, then there is now a predictable, accurate workflow. I know that you are working on some documentation of that also. I really look forward to hear that coming out from a more scientific point of view. But I will say I think it's not going to be the year of photogrammetry this year. It's going to be the year of these elongated scan bodies and really actually going to be a breakthrough, in my opinion, this year, using intraoral scanners for all the next cases, because this has, in my opinion, been solved now, and we are super excited about that, because that has been the hard case. So I think you are head on here. It might actually be the end of photogrammetry systems. But it was a great intermediate solution until scanners got good enough.
You guys heard it from Rune. That is the perfect clickbait. The end of photogrammetry systems. 3Shape's Senior Vice President says. That's hilarious. No, we'll see. I think another one is printing crowns. I think this is the year. I think this is the year that we either it really blows up and we get some good materials, or if it just remains as it is, I just don't really see it hitting mass market. But we'll see. I mean, it's incredible that at such a low price point, in-house CAD CAM is now a reality. I think that's just amazing for dentists worldwide, emerging markets, etc. Do you have any last thoughts, Rune, that you would like to share with us while you're here? I mean, you guys have a huge year ahead. I think anyone who's thinking about going to IDS must go to the 3Shape booth. I will be covering it extensively, hopefully do some catch-ups with you, Rune. But any last thoughts?
No, I think that the speed will continue. I'm totally excited about this year. I think we're going to see some really transformative launches, which I am excited about. And then I would love everyone to be invited to the 3Shape booth at IDS. I will be there the whole week. Looking forward to catch up with you, Ahmed. Otherwise, stay tuned on online medias. You will see a lot of things going on there and see the latest launches. So it's another exciting year. I honestly can't wait. 54 days to IDS here at recording time, and then 3 weeks to Chicago, where there will also come some good stuff, right? So another exciting year, and I live for IDS. I live for product launches. So I can't wait. This is like my birthday when I was 3 years, and you really appreciated your birthday.
Look, you heard it from the man himself. He's counting down the days. If that doesn't give you more than enough information, I don't know what will. Look, Rune, thank you so much for your time. I know it's very early in Denmark. I really appreciate your time. You're a super busy guy. You've literally changed the industry and inspired so many people, including myself. So I really appreciate you being on, and thank you for your insights.
Thank you so much, and we are changing dentistry together, and it is truly together. So thank also for your effort to spread the word, and so thank you, and see you at IDS.
I'll see you at IDS. And that is another episode of the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast, concluded with Rune Fisker, Senior Vice President of Product Strategy at 3Shape. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you all for listening, and subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts to keep up to date with everything digital dentistry. I'll see you in the next episode.